Thank you for coming to listen to me and all the other wonderful presenters here at Tech Open Air. It's really fantastic to be here. My name is Naveen Gavini, and I'm visiting you all from San Francisco, and I currently lead the design team at Pinterest. So this is a photo of the team when I started at Pinterest, actually. So this is 7.5 years ago, and I joined really early on, and we were a very small team at the time. We all fit on a tiny little staircase in a small office, and I started just as an engineer at the company. And as we've scaled to where we are today, I've had the opportunity to actually play very different roles across the company, ranging from engineering to product to design. And when I joined the company, what drew me to Pinterest early on was that it was immediately engaging, and that was because of its visual nature. So we're going to talk today about visual discovery, and I can probably talk about this topic for days, but today, just for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm excited to share with you about what I've learned over the past few years and more about visual discovery and where it's headed. So I want to start here with this old proverb. Who's heard this saying before? A picture's worth 1,000 words, right? It's a pretty common saying. And to me, this is really at the heart of visual discovery. And so what I want to do is just play a short video of some real-life examples of how this old proverb applies to life today.
I look at other visuals to see how someone else has done it, and just to give myself reassurance that I can do it. Visuals definitely give me a lot of confidence.
Only because I have, literally dozens of cookbooks, but I don't want to skim through page after page after page or topic. I just want to find something visually and go, that looks yummy, pick it and go.
I think visuals are special because they're so instantaneous. And even as kids, like when you learn to read, you're learning to read the pictures first. I think it's just because maybe it's the easiest for our brain to comprehend different colors and lights and things together like a puzzle.
There's always a way to describe something in words, and some people won't understand it visually, so you have to show them 1,000 images or a couple of different shades of reds to be like, okay, I know exactly what kind of red you're looking for. You're looking for that poppy red. I get the mood immediately. So it's kind of like universal. That's how I feel with images.
So, we didn't ask these folks to describe visual discovery. They just did. And we really think that this is because the science is that we as humans are inherently visual. 90% of the information that our brain inputs is actually visual, and the brain can process entire images that the eye sees in as little as 13 milliseconds. That's actually 60 times faster than text. So, when the internet started, the experience didn't really align with what we knew in real life, what we knew to be true. And so this is the first web page that went live in 1991, and it had a really simple structure that was based on documents. So this was primarily text, and this was because storage costs were really high, as well as bandwidth and computing. And some of the most popular websites that we know today also got their start this way, mostly through text. And so when Pinterest got its start around 9 years ago, this is what the web primarily looked like. There was a bunch of popular websites that were mostly filled with dense text and not too much imagery. And in contrast, this is what Pinterest looked like when we started. It was really image forward, and it had this very iconic grid layout. And the grid layout was key in enabling folks to really sift through and find ideas visually. So now, in case some of you don't know what Pinterest is, I'm going to take a few minutes to just explain some of the basics. Otherwise, the rest of this talk won't make too much sense. So Pinterest is the world's home of inspiration, and it's filled with inspiring ideas. It's personalized for you, and it's really the largest hand-curated set of objects on Earth. It's a tool to discover ideas for every aspect of life. And visualize them and use them to visualize your future. So this is something we make easier by enabling you to save ideas you like to visual collections that we call pinboards. And this is a digital version of the physical cork board. So folks used to do this to create mood boards, and this is one in our office in San Francisco. And compared to traditional search engines are really good at answering objective questions, like how far it is from San Francisco to Berlin. It's pretty far. Where Pinterest shines is to really answer life's subjective questions. So what should I do when I get to Berlin? And so I hear visiting the subterranean Berlin is really good for history buffs. What should I cook for dinner tonight? Avocado pasta salad. What should I wear on a hot summer day? Or even, how should I decorate my house for the holidays? Maybe a DIY pine wreath. For all of these are the kinds of questions where there's no single right answer. These are questions that are about exploring the vast possibilities and finding the one that's right for you. And these three things don't just describe Pinterest, but they describe visual discovery. So let's look at how visual discovery typically happens on digital products. And so in this example, we'll use Pinterest, but this is the same sort of journey that happens on other visual applications. So you typically start by browsing a feed of images, you find something that you're interested in, and you tap on it. You can then discover more and learn about this image, the idea, the content behind it. Oftentimes, this leads you into a discovery journey where you're looking at and evaluating similar things. And when you're in the evaluation step, you then compare and evaluate options based on the details of the content. So in this case, if it's a recipe, how long does that recipe take to cook? What are the ingredients that you might need? And then finally, you hopefully make a decision and then take action. And so in this case, you actually go and cook the recipe. And most services allow you to write a review or post back how it turned out to help others if they're in the process of evaluation. So this is the visual discovery journey. And I want to just take a minute to play a clip of how this visual discovery journey makes people feel.
Wakes me up to things and gives me new ideas and is really powerful.
When you're inspired and you're in the flow of things, I personally feel unstoppable.
Pinterest helps me ignite new things about myself that I didn't know about.
There's kind of an excitement or anticipation because I just know I'm going to find something new and exciting.
I'm always trying to create, and I feel like things that inspire me to create is always productive use of time.
I thought to myself, that's my goal.
Why not take the risk? And why not at least try it?
So what we discovered from talking to users over the years was that visual discovery was actually way bigger than what we were building at Pinterest. It actually helps people be creative, it helps them discover new things, and ultimately build the confidence to then go try those things. And so the act of discovering ideas visually actually inspired people. And this is so powerful and something we actually never really thought of or planned for when we were building Pinterest. So let's talk a little bit about visual discovery and how that happens. So when we talk about visual discovery, there's two main modes that we think about. There's passive discovery, where you don't really know what you're looking for, but you know when you see it, right? And so this is something, as an example, when you go to a store and you're looking around and shopping, but you don't really, you're not looking for anything particular, you're looking for what grabs your attention. The second is active searching. And so in this mode, you know what you're looking for, but visuals can really help guide that experience along. So this is like going to a store and having a set of shoes that you've picked out that you really like the style of and asking, hey, can I find these shoes? So when we talk about passive discovery, we might not know exactly what we're looking for, but the act of putting many visuals in front of us, we're able to parse through and sift through the options very quickly. And we instantly recognize when something matches our taste. And so for folks in this room, you might be looking at various different images that are related to your interests and hobbies. And so what we've learned over the years is that frequently delivering on this, delivering content that matches someone's taste is incredibly important. So I want to talk about how we do that at Pinterest and how you could do that in your product. So on Pinterest, people save pins. And as most of you know, a pin is basically just an image, but it also has a description, an underlying website, and it often represents an idea. And people organize these pins onto boards, and people save different pins for different reasons. And so here's an example where one person saved this to their blue accents board, another person saved this pin to their vintage kitchen board, and another person saved it to their fireplace board. This same pin has different meaning to each individual that saves it. So this is really fine hand curation. And by identifying and classifying all these different pins, it teaches our system context and the different ways that people may use each of these pins. And because inspiration is a universal need, this is happening at a really large scale. 250 million people are doing this every month. And they've saved over 200 billion pins to over 4 billion boards, and more than half of these users are coming from all around the world. So let's talk a little bit about taste. And taste is really about relevance, and relevance is about matching a user's taste. And the definition of taste is really a pattern of preference that we develop over time. And so the word pattern implies that someone has seen multiple images. So in the example of chairs, if you've only seen 5 chairs, you don't really have much of a taste in chairs, right? There's no pattern. But once you see 1,000 chairs, you start to see patterns emerge, and you understand your individual taste. So we can begin to build dedicated tools to help you learn about your taste and see things related to that. And so on Pinterest, just like many other services, we have what's called a home feed. And this is a personalized place where all of the content is personalized to you based on your tastes. So how do we do this? How do we build the home feed? It's actually a very hard technical problem. And at the heart of it is a recommendation problem. So the key challenge for us is taking those 200 billion pins and finding the 5,000 right pins to surface to you that match your taste. So we use a different number of steps in terms of candidate generation, and then we rank those and we blend them together, and then that ultimately produces a feed that's relevant to you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do it. And so what makes it so relevant is the human curation that we just talked about. To determine how to recommend a pin, knowing its meaning and context play a big role. So what we do is we look at your board that the pin is on and other pins that you've pinned to the same board. We then look at other boards that contain the same pins and what other pins that they have that you don't have. And so these are random walks that we do, basically, from your board, and we are able to compute a personalized page rank for every single pin. And the more connections that page has, we have more confidence that it'll actually match your taste, that we should recommend it. So we do this all online and in memory, so the recommendations can update in real time. So as users take more actions and save more things, we can give you brand new recommendations instantaneously. And we do it all under 50 milliseconds. So this is how we're actually able to take that sea of images and, when you're in passive discovery mode, deliver to you relevant and tasteful recommendations. So that's a little bit about passive discovery. I'm going to talk about active searching now. And this is when you're searching for something, and visuals can really help assist you in doing so. So let's say we're actively searching for a new stool for our kitchen, and we came across this picture that matches our style in kitchens. So the lighting and the stools have caught our attention here, and they would look perfect in our kitchen. So we might be wondering, well, how do I buy that lighting? Where do I find it? Or how can I see similar stools that's pictured here? So what I would traditionally think about is searching for those stools, right? And so if we're actively trying to find one of these stools, how would we do it? We would probably type in, bar stool, maybe modern gray stool, industrial bar stool with holes. It's really hard to describe that stool in that picture. None of these quite perfectly do the trick. So, we've thought about how do we make this easier? There has to be a better way than just typing in words over and over again and refining. And so we thought our goal was to take an image, any image that you see, and be able to select a portion of that image and conduct a search, whether that image is on Pinterest, on your camera, or on the web. And so this allows people to find visual similar products and recommendations in real time. And so this is a product we launched 2 years ago. We call it Visual Search, and it allows you to take any pin on Pinterest and bring up a cropper and move that cropper around. And so in this case, this is lighting in this scene, and I'm able to see a lot of different lighting from different retailers and different folks that are pinning that all match that similar taste. And that's something that would be very, very difficult to describe through just words. So we were really excited about this, and we thought, well, why stop at the web? So we wanted to bring this capability to mobile. And so 2 years ago, we launched a tool called Pinterest Lens, which allows you to take the same capability that we built for the web onto your phone and take photos of things in the real world. And it allows you to find similar images by just snapping a photo. So in this case, red shoes, and you can see red shoes that are very similar online. So let's talk a little bit about how we did this. So what we do is we use convolutional networks for image classification. And what we do is we first take that image and convert it to a large 3D dimensional matrix of pixel values. And then we do a series of linear and nonlinear transforms to condense that into a lower dimensional feature vector, also known as an embedding. And this is a really important step because pixels, they're great and they tell us a lot of information, but they don't tell us the semantic information that's really important. And so text has really strong semantic information. And so embeddings is a really nice language that sits in between that captures semantics, position, color, lightness, and a lot more features. And when we look at embeddings, we can actually start to tell the difference between things like ovens and microwaves, and distinct clusters start to emerge. So we could see food, travel destinations, faces, and many more. So beyond just clustering, we find a lot of value in embeddings when we're determining visual similarity. So here we have two briefcases, and we want to check how similar they are. And so if we have image A and image B, and we'd like to determine the similarity, we start by running image A through our network. And we extract this immediate representation, which gives us basically a feature vector. And then we could do the same thing for image B and get a feature vector. And now finding the similarity between the two is just as simple as taking the Hamming distance between these two vectors. And the smaller the distance is, the more similar those images are. And so this is at a really, really high level how we solve visual similarity behind the scenes with Lens and other products. Okay, so finding similar images when queried is great, but then we asked ourselves, like, how can we make this better automatically? And this is where object detection comes in. And so here, it's a much harder problem because training data is harder to collect, and the model is slower and more cost-intensive. And so for object detection, we use a faster regions CNN architecture. And we extract high-level features, then we propose regions to have interesting objects, and then we use engagement data that we've collected to basically understand where regions are on the object. And this is an example of identifying different regions and how it looks like when you actually draw bounding boxes around that. What we found is that by just going pure visual, it wasn't that accurate. And so we started to combine visual plus text to restrict the categories and make it a little bit more relevant. And so here you'll see an example of a coffee table, and you'll see that augmented with coffee table and wood make it very relevant. So this is a high-level picture. We have an offline portion, an online portion. The online portion does the visual searching, and then the offline portion does the object detection and training. So what I want to kind of end with here in terms of talking about visual search today is just hybrid search. And this is something that we started to put all of those different learnings together of everything I talked about, and we came up with this new paradigm of search that blends together visual discovery and search. And don't worry, even though it's called hybrid search, we're not searching for electric cars here. So imagine you're searching for room ideas with this art. You want to decorate a room with this artwork, and how would you do it? How would you find a room that's inspired by this art? It's really hard. Visual similarity tools don't work. So what we did here is we took that image and combined it with a query, room ideas, and here you can see nursery ideas and rooms that carry that similar characteristic to that image. And so hybrid search really is very similar to text search. What we see is significant differences in how we do lightweight scoring and relevance scoring. And that's the key difference between the two when we combine images and text together. So as an example, if you're trying to search for this chair, I don't know how many people know the name of this chair. It's called the Mondrian chair. You probably don't know the name, but if you wanted to find decor that kind of goes with this, it's really similar to combine these two. And this is the similarity. If you weren't, this is just the chairs that you would see. But this, combining it with bookshelves or clocks or staircases, you can actually find rooms that match that style and visual. And we brought the same technology to search, and so here you could see a personalized search on the right versus a general search on the left, and the search on the right is using context of pins that you've already seen. So we're able to personalize the results that much better. Okay, I am a little bit over time, so I'm just going to wrap up pretty quickly. So I'll skip to really quickly, just where visual discovery is headed. And so, we've done a really good job of visual discovery today, but I think that the future is about envisioning the world around us. And we talked about the possibilities of visualizing them on the web or on our phones, but AR and VR are evolving very rapidly, and it allows us to take those visual possibilities, try on makeup, remodel our home, try out furniture, and I think this is a really exciting area. And I think the future is really about querying the world around us. And so today, text and keyboards are the primary input mechanism, but tomorrow I truly believe that we'll be querying the world with our phones. And in a not too distant future, even something like this, a next generation computing device that's probably a contact lens or something like that. And this might sound like a scary Black Mirror episode, but I think it's important for us to talk about early on so we could design these things in a way that's beneficial to society. And this will actually build probably the world's best taste understanding of you. You probably will understand yourself better through something like this that's constantly understanding what you're looking at. So that's visual discovery, and just to close, I think Pinterest has built a ton on visual discovery from day one, and it's something we'll be continuing to invest in for years. There's so many other exciting uses for computer vision, and I'm sure there's a lot of great talks here at Tech Open Air, things that we couldn't talk about like autonomous vehicles or robotics, but I think both technology and the consumer behaviors are just getting started here, and I can't wait to see where we go in the next 5 years. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks very much, Naveen. We're running over a tiny bit, but we're going to take just one question. But other times when we've got more time, we'll take 2 or 3. So please keep sending them through. I'm going to go to the top by Chris Messina. Is Google Lens a material threat to Pinterest business? Put another way, will computer vision and visual search become a commodity search feature?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think, a lot of respect to Google. They're doing a lot of great things in the space. The way I think about it, if you go back to how I talked about visual discovery in the beginning, there's a little bit of difference in objective results versus subjective results. And I think Google's phenomenal. The product that they've built, if you want to understand exactly what something is or where it's from, that's great. But where we're really excited about is the human element of search. And so if I was to take a picture of that jacket or those jeans, how should I wear that on a summer day? What can I style it with? Those types of things, those subjective questions that are a lot harder to answer, and it requires human taste. And so I think both products are necessary, and both products could coexist and provide a lot of value.
Naveen, thank you so much. That was
Steve.
a great talk.